She came to me with nothing left. They rejected her for being human. The rain never stopped on the outskirts of the alien capital. A gray mist clung to the broken walls, hiding the faces of the starving refugees who huddled beneath them. Among the thousands waiting for a scrap of food or the faintest sign of safety, she stood out, not because of her strength, but because of her fragility. Lyra was human. In this galaxy, that word meant outcast. Her clothes were torn, soaked with mud. Her dark hair clung to her cheeks, her lips trembling with cold. The alien relief workers turned away from her, muttering words in a language she didn't understand, but whose meaning was clear in their eyes. Unwelcome, unworthy. She had lost everything. Her family gone in the invasion, her home burned to ash, and even the soldiers she had traveled with abandoning her at the gates of the city. Now she stood alone, shivering in the rain, clutching the last fragment of her old life, a necklace, its small silver charm warm against her skin only because she held it so tightly. That's when I saw her. I was on patrol that night, assigned to keep order among the refugees. Most of the others didn't even bother stepping into mud. Why care about humans, the weaker species, as the aliens called us? But I wasn't like them. I was human too. My name is Kale, former soldier, now mercenary. I had been working with the Alien Council ever since the war ended, mostly because I had nowhere else to go. I knew what it felt like to be unwanted. The first thing I noticed about Lyra was her eyes. They weren't just desperate, they were defiant. Even as she trembled in the cold, she refused to beg. She just stood there, staring at the gates as if sheer willpower could force them open. I approached her slowly. "You'll freeze out here," I said. She flinched at the sound of my voice, then looked up when she saw my face, scarred, weathered, human. Her shoulders eased just a little. "You work for them?" she asked softly. I nodded. "For now. It keeps me alive." Her lips quivered as she spoke again. "They won't let me in. They said I'm human. They said I don't belong." I clenched my fists. I had heard those words before, thrown at me like knives by the same council I now guarded. "Come with me," I said finally. "I'll find you shelter." The shelter I found wasn't much. A half-collapsed barracks on the far side of the wall, abandoned since the war ended, but it was dry, and it had a fire pit I kept going with stolen scraps of wood. She sat by the flames, silent, clutching her necklace. "Is that all you have?" I asked, nodding to the charm. She looked down at it, thumb brushing its surface. "It was my mother's," she whispered. She said if I ever felt alone, I should hold it close. She said she'd always be with me. There was a tremor in her voice that tore at me. I wanted to tell her it would be okay, but I couldn't lie. In this galaxy, nothing came easy, especially for us. "I'll protect you," I said instead. She looked at me, surprised. "Why? You don't even know me." "Because I know what it feels like to be rejected for what you are," I replied. For the first time that night, she smiled, small, hesitant, but real. Days turned into weeks. The aliens continued to sneer at us whenever we ventured out for food. They whispered behind our backs, their words dripping with contempt. Filthy human, weak blood, outsider. But Lyra, she endured it. More than endured, she grew stronger. I taught her how to fight, how to hold a blade, how to listen for danger in the silence between heartbeats. She learned fast, faster than anyone I had ever trained. Beneath her fragile appearance was a fire that no amount of cruelty could extinguish. One night, after a brutal storm, we sat by the fire again. The wind howled outside, but inside the broken walls, it felt almost warm. "Kale," she said softly, "do you ever wonder why we survived?" I glanced at her. "What do you mean?" "Out of everyone in my family, your squad, why us? Why are we still here?" I thought for a moment. Maybe because we're supposed to be. Maybe because we still have something left to do. She stared into the flames. Something left to protect. Our eyes met then, and in that silence I understood. It wasn't just survival anymore. It was something deeper. The change came suddenly. A band of raiders, alien mercenaries, the kind who thrive in chaos, attacked a refugee camp one night. The council guards fled, leaving the weak and starving to fend for themselves. Screams filled the air as fire spread through the tents. I grabbed my blade and ran toward the sound. Lyra followed. "Stay behind me," I shouted, but she didn't listen. The first raider lunged at me with a jagged spear. I parried, drove my sword through his chest, and spun to block another strike. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Lyra pick up a fallen staff. her hands shaking. 2 aliens cornered her. She moved clumsily at first, but instinct took over. She ducked under one swing, drove the staff into the attacker's gut, then smashed the other in the face. Blood sprayed the ground. I cut down the last of them and rushed to her side. She was breathing hard, eyes wide, not with fear, but with something fiercer. "I told you to stay behind me," I said. "I'm not helpless," she replied, gripping the bloodied staff. "Not anymore." After that night, everything changed. The refugees began looking at her differently, not as a burden, but as a fighter. The aliens, too, took notice. Whispers spread through the city. The human girl who fought like fire, the girl who wouldn't break. But the council still refused to accept her. "She is human," they said, as if that alone was reason enough. "She does not belong." I stood in front of them, fists clenched. She saved your people. She bled for them. What more does she need to prove? Their answer was silence. Lyra and I left that night. We traveled through ruins and wastelands, through forests glowing with strange alien lights and rivers black as ink. We hunted, we fought, we survived. And somewhere along the way, we stopped being 2 broken souls, clinging to life. We became something more. She would smile sometimes, rare and fleeting, but enough to light the darkness. "Do you still think we're alive for a reason?" she asked me one evening as we watched the stars. I nodded. "I do." "What reason?" I looked at her, at the girl who had come to me with nothing left, who had been rejected for being human, and yet had become stronger than anyone I'd ever known. "You," I said simply. Months later, we returned to the city, not as beggars, but as warriors. The raiders had come again, stronger this time, and the council had no choice but to call for help. When we walked through those gates, weapons drawn and scars worn like armor, the same aliens who once turned us away stared in silence. Lyra led the charge that day. She fought with a fire born of pain, loss, and love. Every strike of her blade was an answer to those who rejected her. Every cry a declaration that she belonged. When the battle ended and the raiders lay defeated, no one dared question her place among them. Later, as the city rebuilt and peace returned, we stood together on the highest wall, looking out over the stars. "You found me when I had nothing left," she whispered. "You gave me something to fight for. You gave me something to live for," I replied. The wind carried our words into the night, mingling with the quiet hum of the rebuilt city. For the first time since the war began, I felt like we weren't alone. We weren't just human. We were more.